Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome to episode number 446, I think, of the Restoring Rapport podcast. This is a podcast for young believers who are pursuing the goal of marriage and family, trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way, according to God's design. My name is Seth Hensley. I come on this show twice a week, every week, on Thursday and Sunday to discuss not only the benefits of getting married young, but I try to equip and encourage you in your pursuit of that goal. And today, we're going to be reviewing a video by Braveco. Jason Vallotton has put out a video about marriage and business, basically posing the question to you that if your marriage was a business, would it survive? And I imagine he's going to go through some, ways that people treat their business smart that they should do to also keep their marriage intact. And I'm excited because this will be fun. Also, the new studio is getting better and better and better. Guys, I'm so excited. If you're watching on YouTube, you're about to have your mind blown. Watch this. Ready? Watch this. 3, 2, 1. Boom. You should see that now. Yeah, you do. Crazy. So what this is this. I finally have a multi-camera podcast studio. So now watch this. I'm going to do it again. Ready? Boom. Back to me. So I can now shoot two directions. I can have a camera on a guest, which I'm planning on doing this weekend, by the way. And then I can have a camera on me, and I can do in-person interviews with live camera switching. Watch this. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2, with no editing. Okay, I can just go back and forth. I'm currently working on getting this set up to where I don't even have to push the button on my switcher, but based on speaker audio, whoever has the loudest mic input, it just automatically swaps. So like if my guest is talking louder than me, it just immediately the camera goes to them, which is insanely cool. So yeah, be on the lookout for a lot of cool stuff being posted on this channel. I'm still working on my lighting setup. That's why my face is kind of shadowy now. I need a soft light on a tension rod across the ceiling here so that it shines down on me when I'm filming. But I'm going to take a break from spending money because I've spent a lot this month on this studio already. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what Jason has to say, though, and talk about it.
Wrong with most people's marriages is if you look at most people's marriages, they run a business completely different than how they run a marriage. And if you ran your marriage a bit more like you ran your business, my proposal to you is that your marriage would probably be wildly successful. Imagine this. Once a year, you and your wife go away and you just focus on what is our goal for this year? What is our main goal? When we get to the end of this year, if we don't do anything else, this one thing would be success. It could be anything from, man, we have a really hard time solving conflict in our marriage. If we could just get to a place where we really solved hard conflict together, that would be amazing. Or we don't communicate well to each other, or our sex life is really hurting, right? Or our finances are our biggest pain point in marriage. If we could get to the end of this year and say, we have a great plan for paying down debt and for starting to save money, that would be everything. Or, man, if we got to the end of this year and we really had a great plan for how to parent my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old, and we brought in an expert, we watched e-courses, we got some coaching, that would be success. Imagine what would happen in your marriage. And then from there, you started to go, okay, let's plan a weekly meeting, just 45 minutes once a week, non-negotiable, not interrupted. You do that for your business. I do that for Braveco. I have an hour-and-a-half meeting every single week with the executive team, and we're going over objectives. Did we hit this week's objectives? How did we do? What are we missing short? What are we looking at for next week? Where are we going? And we're constantly on track. Imagine if you did that with your wife. You said, hey, we're going to have a 45-minute meeting once a week, and we're going to look at how do we do? How are we doing with our year-long goal that we're working towards, right? Because you take that year-long and you begin to break it apart and go, what do I need to do each month? What do I need to do each week to get there? You go over things like your calendar and your schedule to make sure that what's a priority to you that week that you're actually hitting.
I think it really just comes down to intentionality, guys. Because people are very intentional about their business because their money's riding on it. And really, I think a lot of the reason, the only reason sometimes that people are not as intentional about their marriage is because they don't realize how much is riding on it, and they're treating it more as an experimentation, or they just don't even think to apply the business protection principles to their own marriage. But I do think it's good to have some time set aside to have a goal. That's awesome. Maybe your marriage is going great. Have the goal of continuing to have your marriage go great. You know, like there's always a goal you can have, even if you're not having some drastic problem right now, which by the way is ideal. Awesome. Congratulations if that's you. And for those of you who have not gotten married yet and you're, working toward that goal, just be thinking of some, priorities that you can protect with the love of your life, right? And be intentional about it. I would go so far as to say, like, aim for having a getaway once a year with just you and your spouse, no kids or anything, no external demands, no work calls, no work texts, nothing, just you and your spouse, reinforcing your connection, spending time together, building up your bond, that kind of thing. Because once a year, that's just a great thing to do. My wife and I usually go to the place we went on our honeymoon, but you have to get it booked so far out that it's almost kind of getting a little bit too hard. But it's such a convenient place too, so I don't know. But we've really enjoyed those trips that we've taken up there. Really, really fun. And I would like to make them an annual tradition. Not only am I working on my weekly traditions, but I'm trying to get annual traditions because those are just as meaningful. They just come around every year instead of every week. And I would just recommend them to you guys, especially if you're doing them for your business. I mean, excuse me, like what matters more here, your marriage or your business? Like I say that all the time, but like one of those is of more spiritual significance, higher priority than the other. And so like let's just protect what matters. Not that you shouldn't protect your business. You absolutely should. Or maybe you're not a business person. Maybe you protect your hobbies or your personal time or your whatever. I'm just saying protect whatever matters to you. And marriage needs to be something that matters to you. Protect it as much as you protect that other stuff that matters to you. Like that's giving it that intentionality and that time. Let's see what else he says. He's going to go into ownership, and then he's going to move into intentionality, and he's going to talk about daily habits toward the end, and regular checkups. Let's go into those things.
I mean, just think through what would happen if you looked at how's the culture in our marriage. What would HR say if they came in and listened to us and watched us communicate and watched us connect? And you began to, again, plan out what do we need to do in order to grow and build the culture. I really do think that most men's marriages would absolutely crush if you led your marriage like you lead your business. Now, your wife's not your employee, and you shouldn't treat anybody in your family like an employee. But if we had a mindset, a stewardship mindset, you're the CEO, you're the owner, you are the chief person that's responsible for leading your marriage. And if you looked at it from a business perspective, I think everything would change. I want to talk about 4 things that every successful entrepreneur does that, to me, every marriage desperately needs. The first one is ownership, right? Every successful business leader has clear ownership over his business. And really, when you look at it, the marriage that you have is the marriage that you lead. If you don't enjoy your marriage, the question is, where are you leading it? What are you doing right now? What's the plan? What have you taken ownership of to begin to go, if I let this go, think about your business. If you realize we're overspending, we're constantly withdrawn, constantly overdrawn, and you begin to project out. I just did this in a team meeting with another business that I work in, not Braveco. And there's about a $80,000 loss a year, which for this business isn't actually that big of a deal. And we sat down and we went, hey, what could we do to close that gap? Like, why is there an $80,000 loss every year. For starters, are we okay with that or are we not okay with that? And for this particular business, it worked fine until it didn't. And then we're like, no, we got to shorten that up. We can lose money, but we can't lose that much money. So right away, we realized if we just change the the software that we're using, that would save us $32,000 alone, just the software. And also,
Dang.
what it would enable us to do is be way more efficient. And so we started to go through there and just go like by taking ownership, right? By not running away, by not burying my head in the sand, but by going, hey, we got to stop. We got to put this on the board. I know it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to talk about areas that we're not winning. It's not comfortable to brainstorm everything again. Changing structures or changing softwares isn't
No, it's not.
comfortable. It
Guys,
might.
like this, like, let me just pause there. In redoing this podcast room, had to go through so much mud, like to turn out this camera changing stuff that you're seeing right now. Like this did not happen easily. Like I ordered the wrong cords. I had to wait for stuff to come in. I had to do research for hours and hours. I had to, watch the configuration, how to set this up and how it actually works on YouTube videos for like so many videos I watched. And so like because it was a change, like whereas before I would just get on Riverside and it was very easy and I would just boom, hit one button, ready to roll, and screen capture and like it was easy. But when I change it up, yeah, the product's going to be better. When I finally get everything set up, the product's going to be way better. Like it's going to increase my production, quality like tenfold, but there were steps to get there. There was just kind of awkward. And it's the same thing in marriage. It's the same thing in business. Like there's that transition period where you just got to kind of figure things out. And once you did, then you can kind of routinize and that's when things get a lot easier. And so if you're wanting to make something sustainable, routine is your key. So in marriage, if you're wanting to have a weekly date night, there's going to be a period of transition where you're figuring that out and you're building that atomic habit, as James Clear would say. You're like starting the foundation of the routine. And that's actually the hardest phase. The hardest part is starting your routine for your marriage or your business or your whatever. And so if you want that weekly date night, you've got to kind of figure out what works best for you, figure out what fits your budget, figure out what you and your wife both enjoy doing, figure out what leads to easy conversation, figure out how your schedule, works with your other family and friends and workplace and stuff like that. And once you've got that figured out and you start the routine process, that's the hardest step. Because once that's out of the way, it's just kind of going into autopilot, which is awesome. There's nothing like making all the decisions that would otherwise be stressful on autopilot mode. There's nothing like that. It's really good, I would say, for your marriage, like as a de-stressor. You don't have to think about things. You don't have to plan things. You just have to do what you're already in the rhythm of doing, which is easy. It's so much easier. And so, yeah, like I think he's totally right here. There's going to be those transition periods, but developing those healthy routines for your marriage. Let's say it wasn't a date night. Like let's say you wanted to, do some kind of ministry once a week as a couple, family team. Maybe you want to have people into your home, or you want to volunteer somewhere, or you want to serve at your local church, or whatever sort of ministry you're looking for. Start by, going through that transition period, like just showing up at one or hosting something or doing something and seeing how it goes. And and then after it's over, just sitting down with your spouse being like, hey, what do you think went well about this and what did not work? Because there were some things that didn't work, I'm sure. And there were some things that went really, really well that you want to do again. And then just kind of hash that out. And then the next time you do it, implement those changes. And pretty soon, before you know it, you'll have this weekly routine and this weekly ministry opportunity that is really, really great. Like there's not that many problems with it because you've worked through them together and you're now in the routine of doing something that works really well for your family. And so, just like anything, it's trial and error. And then it's autopilot, which is awesome. My favorite is the autopilot stage, guys. I love, and not when you say live your life on autopilot, that makes it sound like you're not being intentional and you're not like doing things that matter and you're not serving other people with every breath that God's given you. But what I mean by that is that all the stressful decisions have now been removed, and now you can focus solely on doing what God's called you to do and building a close relationship with those people in your life who matter most. And so I really like what he said so far. Let's continue to his next step. Passivity and pain is what he's going to talk about next.
Mean that we, lay somebody off or whatever it is, it's not fun. But ownership, really having clear ownership there, creates an environment where I want to be in. I'm excited about it. The question isn't if you're leading, it's where you're leading it, right? And so you're the one that really sets the presence as the man in your relationship.
Mm,
Your absence of when we don't take a clear look and clear leadership in our marriage, things just drift.
true.
They get bigger. They get neglected. Time goes on. You feel that distance. And it's because there's no real clear ownership. I have been guilty, man. I have been so guilty in my marriage throughout the years and different seasons of just hoping that my wife plans all the dates or just hoping that she does all the
Mm,
finances. I mean, honestly, for years and years, I didn't look at the finances in our marriage. My wife's better at the numbers. She's better at filing the tax. She's better at all that stuff. She's better at managing that stuff. So I just left her to it. And the truth is that it became a very painful place, not because she wasn't doing a great job, but because it lacked vision. It lacked what I was supposed to bring to it. It lacked my initiation. And so I've told this story many times, but we got to a place 3 years ago where all I had was $1,000 in the bank account left. Like, it's terrible. It was so painful. My parents came in and helped give me some oversight. My friends came in. I had some really good friends that came in that helped me to create a financial plan. But it took me going, hey, this is my fault. I have not looked at this area in my life because it stressed me out, because I didn't feel
mm.
like I was good at it, because I didn't have a big value for it.
Now, I do want to add I do want to say here, if we're going to talk about finances, as far as finances in your marriage, man, I do have the approach that it's better not to stress out about it, because if you do stress out about it, you're ruining the relationships that are around you in those moments where you're stressed out and you're choosing to worry exactly like Jesus said not to do, instead of take care of your family and provide, which is exactly what First Timothy 5 would tell you to do. And so I don't know. It's just I'm trying to be scriptural in the way I handle family relations and money when those things are together in the same room, if that makes sense. So I do think it's a good thing not to be stressed, and I actually think financial freedom, one of the signs of it is not having to look at your bank account, in the sense that you don't have to think, do we have enough money for this? There is that awareness, that, yeah, and before you buy anything huge, obviously, that there needs to be that planning and making sure you're going in the direction that your family is trying to go, and that you're not being a hindrance to the family. But at the same time, it's like I don't want to be the kind of guy that can't buy a Frosty for my wife without like freaking out about checking my app first. Like, I feel like you need to just keep money in an account, no matter, like, just keep money in your checking or your spending account. And that's what Lainey and I do. We just keep money in there so that if we come across something, an opportunity to go out and do something together or whatever, or even something good that she or I need, or something for our baby or whatever, like, we just spend it without thinking. And that's a really peaceful way to live, is if you have that money in there. And then another thing I would do, so that you're not like, to protect yourself on the spending too much front, is like, just have a savings account that has full of backup. Just keep that full of backup. And if it's not full, cut back on your spending till your savings account's full of backup. And then if you're saving towards a specific goal, even, what we do there is, well, sometimes we do this, is I have a percentage of my paycheck taken out and immediately deposited into his separate savings account, not our backup savings, but a different one, just as kind of an extra buffer. And that works really well. Another thing I'd recommend for you, I mean, as far as getting married and handling finances, guys, this is the biggest thing that I would say. This is bigger than any of the other finance tips that either I think he's talked about or I've mentioned in this episode. And that's basically combine your accounts, and people will just destroy you for that. They'll recommend you not do that for so many reasons. But what it did for me and my wife is it matured us and made us not look at money as our own individual belonging, not as like it belongs to me and nobody else, but it made us think more as a team. Like this is our team's account. This is our spousal units collective earnings. This is all that we have together. And it made us think of every dollar not as my personal property in a selfish way, but as our hard work. And it also made it so much simpler instead of like Venmoing each other money and like waiting 3 days instead of letting Venmo take a cut in order for that money to end up in your account. It was just so much like work. And like we had to constantly be more communicative. Like, how much money do you have in your account? I don't know. How much money do you have in your account? And let's add it up and then figure out how we're doing fine. It's just so much simpler, in my opinion, to just put it together in the same account so that you know what you have and that both of your paychecks are going in there. If you're a dual income household or if you're a single income household, all of your money is in one account and everybody can see it. And then I would have the app on both of your phones. And it just makes things so much easier. I mean, it has for us anyway. And again, it matures you because the good thing about it, another good thing about it is when you spend money, like let's say my wife goes out and buys a shirt or something that she found at the mall, and I see that came out of our account. That teaches me that's a death to self right there because she's spending money that I worked for, and that's so good for me because now I'm seeing this money again not as my stuff, which I think is just selfish, and instead seeing it as a way for me to serve other people, and yeah, I think it matures you because what I've realized about this just consumeristic, hyper individualistic country, modern day era that we live in is just how selfish people are with money and how petty they are about money. Like they are so like they expect like everything they earn to go to their stuff to what they want, and it's like that's not the gospel, man. You're supposed to work for other people, you're supposed to serve other people. And so I don't know, it was just really good for me. I was just more selfish with money before I got married. Because I saw it as my stuff. This is like mine, me. And what getting married and combining counsel did was it taught me like this is actually the purpose of money. And there's this huge reward that comes from like if my wife wants something and I'm able to buy it for her, like there's this really beautiful thing there. Now, something that was kind of a downside of combining finances that I don't like as much is like it's almost like you don't feel like you ever give your spouse a gift because when you buy them something, you're buying them something from a pooled income that she contributed to. So like if I buy her a birthday gift, I mean that came out of our account, not mine. And so but it's still, I think it's a worthwhile trade-off because you can see it as your money. You technically did work for it and put half or whatever percentage of it in there. And so I don't know. It's just think of it as giving a gift of your money, and I think it'll be fine. But I really do think that combining accounts makes you less selfish because it forces maturity out of you. Like, what would be more selfish is if I were to say, no, you can't have any of my money because that belongs to me and I work for it. That's not the attitude of a servant. That's the attitude of somebody who's in self-preservation mode, somebody who's in like self-protection, self-gratification mode, not somebody who's taking care of other people.
And that passivity is honestly, it's still leadership. It led Lauren and I to a place that was really painful. And so for me, the first thing in order for your marriage to really succeed, the first thing every business needs is it has to have clear ownership. If there's not clear ownership, if the leadership structure is muddy, if you don't walk into your house and go, I'm the leader here, I'm the owner, I'm the guy that's responsible. Now, that doesn't mean that you come in and you lead like a dictator. The Bible's very clear, and I don't want to have to teach a message, but Jesus came as a servant. He came to take all his power and authority and to build a beautiful bride. That's the model that we're leading in. But you can't turn ownership over to your wife and check out and then expect that you're going to love your marriage. It's not her job. It's your job, and it's your job to create a great partnership with your wife, and together you guys build a great marriage. Okay. Number 2, investment. So there has to be a real clear plan for intentional investment, right? Because what you invest in or what you don't invest in either grows or it dies, right? What you don't invest in, you lose. What you invest in, you gain. And what that really looks like a lot for marriage, it looks like a ton of pursuit. In the beginning of a relationship, when you're first starting to date your wife, there's tons of pursuit. There's tons of investment, isn't there? There's a bunch of intentionality. It's the text messages. It's, I'm thinking about you. It's, I'm at work, but I have a second to jump on the phone. It's that, how am I doing pouring into her daily? How am I doing making sure that I'm doing those small touch points? It's those daily check-ins. It's the eye contact. It's the initiating time together. It's making sure that you don't drift. And I'll say this, like, even in the investment part of marriage, it really is making sure that you are investing weekly into the goals, into the areas that you are trying to be successful in. I'll give you an example. So Lauren and I, we sat down this year and we decided at the beginning of the year that we really wanted to invest in Lauren's book. And so that looked like I took a bunch on so that Lauren can have time to work, to create, to build. We invested money into helping someone create a plan to launch her book. We invested tons of time into it. Today I walked in and she was working on her landing page for the book. She's finished the book, she finished the cover, but we put a bunch of time, effort, energy, investment into that book because it's pouring into our marriage. And I just think you have to have ownership. The next one is investment. What are you doing on a regular basis to really invest? Think about investing in a business. I mean, what would it look like for you to invest in your business? For me with Braveco, sometimes it looks like I need to go and raise support for a rite of passage, or I need to go and build curriculum, or I need to go and pour into this person or that person to help build this other part of Braveco so that we're successful.
So it's like kind of time and money is how I mean, time, money, thought, effort, investment. I'm thinking those things, resources. Those are the kind of things that he's talking about here. And I mean, yeah, I mean, if you put something into something, you're going to get something out of something. I mean, to use the word something 4 times in a sentence, I mean, it does kind of make sense as far as just common sense goes. I mean, if you put a lot of work into your marriage, you can expect a great marriage. If you don't put much work in, you can expect a mediocre marriage, or even, sadly, a not very good marriage. And so I totally think he's on the right there as well. I think kind of everything he's saying in this video is kind of common sense. And the overarching theme is just kind of treat your marriage with the respect and love and attention that you do your business, and watch your marriage blossom. And maybe you're not a business dude. Maybe you're like a hunting guy or a fishing guy or a gaming guy or a sports guy or a car guy or what. I don't care, whatever it is. Those are all hobbies, I guess, but instead of like ways to bring in money and actually turn a profit. But it's the same principle. Like, whatever you give your time to, you're going to be good at, and you're going to know a lot about, and you're going to be aware of, and you're going to have an investment, an emotional investment in. And so I would just encourage you to do that same thing for your marriage. Like, the day that I invest more into my podcast than I invest in my wife is the day I'm a bad husband, because I'm choosing to be a podcaster instead of a partner to Lainey. So, and I'm not saying you shouldn't invest in your hobbies and stuff. I think you absolutely should, especially if they're like things to do with family. Like, one of the reasons that I invested in like this multicam setup is because I am sick of podcasting by myself. Like, I think it's actually in a lot of ways just not exactly a waste of time, but like doing something that could be so much better if I would just integrate, like, and I'm going to integrate my children into this in the future. I cannot wait to bring in my kids into this process and like be helping them create stuff that we find fun and interesting and fascinating, and bonding together in the process, and turning out a product that hopefully ministers to somebody else. Like it's just like a win, 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 win. Like compare that to podcasting, which is just really a win for an individual. It's like, oh, great, you run a podcast, you do something cool with your life. Like that's just a win for one person to feel good about themselves. But a podcast that ministers to other people and serves as a bonding opportunity between a father and a son, or a father and a daughter, and is something that can, lead to family activities and family communities and family resources that you can discover through the internet and stuff like that. There's just so many pluses. It's like, why would you make a hobby just one thing when it could be so much more than that for you? Like, and so, yeah, I just think, I don't know, but my point was, and I think his point is, like, give your marriage the investment it deserves. Like, if it's a priority, take care of it, and just, guys, just spend time with your wife, man. That's what I would say. Like, just hang out with her and go on dates and cuddle time and all that. Like, just spend time together doing, like, if you're going to do something, just ask your wife to do it with you. Like, maybe she's not feeling up to it that day, but maybe she is. And then boom, not only is it an opportunity for you to have a hobby, but it's also now bonding time and reinforcement for your connection. So really agree with what he said so far. Let's look at what my time is at. I think I've been going a while. No, only 30 minutes. Not too bad. Let's continue to see what he says here let's see. He's going to talk about daily habits for a little bit, and then he's going to go on to the third key, which I think is going to be regular checkups, if the preview on YouTube means anything. But I've liked these so far.
It is daily touches. It's the tasks that you do every single day to make sure that I'm moving the ball forward. Most men stop investing, they stop dating their wives, they stop managing the day-to-day, they stop doing the daily touch points, and the marriage begins to drift, right? And I told you guys this earlier this year, but I had six marriages that I worked on the last year and a half. All of them were in big trouble. The thing that I did that transformed every one of them was this one thing: daily investment. Every single day. Text message your wife, voice message her, stop when you're at home and give her affirmation. I love you. I'm thankful for you. I care for you. Those small touch points. It's funny because I wasn't even planning on doing this message today. I sat down. My wife was just about to leave. There's a big women's conference today at the church that she's going to. And she's teaching a devotional. And I got my son, Liam. He's 4 years old. And I said, hey, mom's getting ready to leave. Come over here. Let's pray for her. And before she left the house, Liam and I, we loved on mom. We prayed for her. I prayed. Liam prayed. And I just really encouraged my wife. It's an investment, man. I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm doing the best. I'm saying, oh, this is the same way that I lead Braveco. I'm leading my marriage. And I'm going, how do I pour into my wife today? And what's awesome is yesterday, she messaged me when she was at the conference last night. And she said, oh my gosh, babe, I love you so much. I'm so thankful for a husband that can take care of the kids when I'm gone, that knows what to do. So I feel so secure. And I was just like, that is a culture that Lauren and I has created in our marriage through intentionality. And it completely changes the game. The third thing that every business has to have, that every successful businessman does, is a check-in. Now, these might seem like the same things, but they're not. Every strong business has regular check-ins. They don't wait until things break. And I think the areas in your marriage...
Before he moves into this, I do want to just comment on that. Like, what I've noticed about marriages that are on the rocks, and what I think you've noticed as well, if you reflect with me for a minute about the marriages in your life that are headed south, is that you don't wake up one day and find yourself in a bad marriage. you wake up one day in a bad marriage because you made 1,000 bad decisions to get to that point. Okay, it's not like a instantaneous thing most of the time. Now I do understand sometimes things happen, but really even in cases like infidelity or cheating or like adultery or what's another one, like a big one like abuse, neglect, those kind of huge marriage problems, those are the result of like think about how affairs happen. How do affairs happen? An affair starts when there is an unmet, connection need on one side or another of the marriage. And, that person is then exposed to people who step in to try and meet that need in the absence of the spouse. That's really what it is. Affairs start when individuals are in states of starvation. Starvation, as far as connection goes, are not connected to each other, are not intimate with one another, are not in any way bonded together, and they take advantage of that. The opportunity is jumped upon by an opportunist, oftentimes, or somebody who is willing to provide what a spouse is not doing at the moment, and it's just very it's just micro decisions that lead up to those disconnected like okay, let's just give an like usually I think affairs start out as a physical thing for men and as an emotional thing for women. That's a generalization, obviously, so take that with a grain of salt, but like let's look at what that would look like in both scenarios here. So let's look at the women first. So an affair for a woman usually is when she's not feeling connected to her husband. There's no emotional intimacy with her husband. She's not feeling like he's available and cares about her and is thinking about her and is invested in the course of her life and all this. And so she meets somebody that, oh my goodness, is showing her a lot of attention. And that's when she starts having those warm feelings from somebody that's not her husband. Okay. The guys, usually it's like and my point in that woman scenario is that the husband has made those decisions, those micro decisions every day to not give as much attention to his wife as he once did. And that's the sad part. And in the case of the guys, maybe it doesn't matter if it's an emotional or physical affair. It's the same thing. Maybe the couple has made micro decisions to stop being intimate with each other. Maybe they've made micro decisions to stop making their sex life a priority. Maybe they've made micro decisions to stop kissing as much as they used to. Maybe they've made micro decisions to stop spending as much time with each other as they used to, and instead putting that time into work or extracurriculars or even their own children. And then suddenly this man is kind of dry in the sense like he's God has instilled within him a need for a woman, and he was doing the will of the Lord and pursuing that healthy relationship with a woman, but then he put that to the back burner, or maybe they put that to the back burner. And they stop making their connection as important as it should be. And then suddenly this woman comes into his life that is providing those, those gestures, those investment gestures. And it's like, boom, that's where it starts. So it's like these micro decisions that lead you to these really terrible places. It's not like you just wake up in those terrible places. It's not a sudden thing, in my experience. Now, maybe you have a different experience. Let me know what your experience is, of course, through the YouTube show notes or a personalized audio voice message or text voice message to the Restoring Report podcast. Would love to hear from you. But in my opinion, most of the time, those shipwreck moments are the result of a million bad navigational courses before in previous months and weeks and years and days and all that. Just tiny decisions, bad decision after bad decision. And that really lands you in a hard, and what you have to do then at that point is there's not a quick fix either. Because if you got yourself into this shipwreck slowly, there's only going to be a slow way to get you out, and that's by making 1,000 good decisions. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so this is why I think therapy is kind of funny, because it's like, I mean, what do you want this therapist to do? You're sitting on top of a mountain of bad choices, and you expect to come in here and you think it's just going to be fixed because he says something magical like bippity boppity boo, your marriage is now a fun place to be. It's like, no, you're going to have to start. You got to, every mile that you dug yourself into the ground here, you have to now do in reverse. In fact, it's kind of even harder because you got to now dig yourself back out and you got to fill the dirt back in, with good things. Okay. And that's double the work. So it's like every step you go down that bad road in the marriage relationship is 2 steps out that you've got to take. So I don't know. It's just, but it's also hopeful because it kind of reminds us that there really is no such thing as a hopeless marriage, because I don't care how far down they've gone. Like, you can always walk back up that hill. You can always walk back up that hill. And now, sadly, a lot of people decide that it's not worth it, and they decide that it's not, something good to do. But you can walk back up that hill, man. And I would just encourage you. Well, first of all, young people, I would encourage you, don't take even one step down the hill. Like, literally, always be going up. Always be going up. Always be going on the straight and narrow. Okay. And that way you never find yourself in those nuclear bomb type marital situations in the future where everything's falling apart and the air is radioactive and they're screaming and there's extreme disconnection that cannot be healed for like 10 years. Like, don't ever wake up and find yourself in that situation, because you won't have taken one step of 1,000 down that path. That's kind of what I would encourage you. That's what intentionality looks like. So yeah, send loving texts to your wife. Give her hugs. Regular intimacy time with her. Physical, emotional, everything. Spend time together rather than separate. Have routines in your week that are things you like to do together. Have a show together that you watch only with each other and that you don't watch by yourself. Do family time where you're invested in her family and she's invested in your family. Just all that stuff. Work on something together. Have a project. I don't know. That's something Lainey and I haven't really got to do yet together, is we don't have that many projects. I mean, we do have kind of our home, which has been a good project for us, like the nursery and things like that. And those are really good. Like, just have something to do together that you're working on towards a goal with each other. And have a ministry together, man. Like, serve other people with each other and be hospitable. Like, I'm so tired of people not talking about hospitality. Like, hospitality is a scriptural command. Like, you're commanded to be hospitable to one another. Just read Paul's letters. It's all about hospitality. There's tons of hospitality. Like, that's a lot of times how he closes his letters, I think, is like being hospitable one to another. Like, and then we're all talking about other stuff because that's what our pastor's talking about. And it's like, dude, you're not supposed to just do what your pastor says. You're supposed to, have your own, understanding of scripture too. Like, you can't just, not that hearing from a pastor's bad. I'm just saying, like, that there's a lot in the Bible that you're commanded to do. Don't just do the things that the pastor touches on Sunday morning. Like, there's a lot more in there that you're called to do as a believer. Hospitality is one of those things that literally never gets talked about, because the focus is not on the home in the modern church. It's on the institutions, and it's on the public space, and it's on the crowds. It's on the masses. It's on huge limelight public ministry, which there's nothing wrong with. That's an important aspect of ministry, but it's half of ministry. It's not the only, front that on which ministry occurs. And so I would just encourage you, like, be hospitable together. Open your home to somebody. Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. So thank you for listening today. I appreciate you doing that, and especially if you made it all the way to the end, which most of you probably haven't at this time. But if you made it this far, you're 1 in a million. Congratulations. Almost nobody listens to the show anyway, so when you make it this far, you're really, really in the minority. So thank you for doing that. Let me know what you thought of Jason's words here, as well as my comments on his video, through the YouTube comments or the Restoring Rapport Instagram or Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you. It would make this podcasting system two-way, and it would make this a conversation instead of a boring monologue. So thank you so much for listening today. God bless you, and I will talk to you guys next time.